Hello, I'm Tanya Beckett. Welcome to the programme. International criticism of Israel is mounting over the deaths of more than 100 Palestinians desperately seeking aid from a rare convoy in Gaza City. Israel admits its soldiers had opened fire, saying they were concerned about security, but that most of the deaths happened in an ensuing crush. Some Palestinians say Israeli troops fired directly at them. France said that firing on civilians trying to access food is unjustifiable. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said he was shocked to learn that 100 people have been killed. He's called for an independent investigation to identify those responsible. President Biden called the incident tragic and alarming. He also expressed concern that efforts to broker a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas may now be in jeopardy. Live now to Jerusalem and our Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell. Yolande, what more can you tell us about what happened around this aid convoy?
Well, despite the very different accounts we're getting from the Israelis and Palestinians, some facts are clear. Thousands of people had turned out. They've been waiting for several hours overnight in Gaza City on this coastal road. This is after a period where the UN said there were about 3 weeks when no international aid was arriving into the north of the Gaza Strip. We were told by witnesses that people had come from different parts of the north hoping to get a sack of flour to take home for their family, and they'd sat waiting for hours. There were then these very chaotic scenes when a convoy of some 30 lorries arrived. It was being run by private contractors with the Israeli military overseeing the operation. There's an Israeli checkpoint just to the south here. Now, what the Palestinian witnesses say, what Palestinian health officials say, is that they saw soldiers opening fire and people suffered gunshot wounds, particularly to their upper bodies, that there were also people who were run over by the aid lorries in the chaotic scenes. Then you have the Israeli military saying that actually most of those killed were killed in a stampede, that there were attempts to loot the aid from the lorries, and that people then were caught up in a crush. Some people were being run over by the lorries. They say that then soldiers did fire some warning shots to try to drive back the crowd, with indications that people were getting too close to an Israeli military position.
And Yolande, because of the very sensitive perception of aid getting into the Gaza Strip and how that plays into the negotiations currently, the concern is that it will simply derail them.
Indeed, and that's what one Hamas official has said, that there is a risk of that. These talks, of course, taking place in Qatar at the moment with an Israeli delegation and a Hamas delegation there. And what has been proposed, we understand, is a 6-week truce. During that time, you would have some 40 Israeli hostages released for about 10 times as many Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and a big surge in the amount of aid going into Gaza. Now, President Biden, when he was asked about this by journalists, did acknowledge that yesterday's incident could really complicate those talks, and we understand from the White House that he spoke to the Qataris, to the Egyptians who are acting as mediators here, to try to get an update on what's going on with those negotiations.